All right, this is my 2020-2021 album. So December 20 to January 21. And again, I used a Simple Stories album. This one was a beautiful print that went across the entire spread. Very vintage. And, it's not super thick, but I used a lot more ribbons and goodies in it, which was fun. I also used a lot of the paper line that corresponded with the album. I don't always do that. In previous albums, if you've watched the other videos, I kind of was picking from my stash and using up things that I wanted to use. Here, I kind of pulled stuff from this particular line. And as time goes on, you'll see more and more of that, where I have a concerted effort and a particular theme or a particular look I'm going for. And so here, the title page is the paper that was a replica of this beautiful wreath. And then these are ornaments that I found for super cheap at Walmart. And I thought they were super cute, both in the vintage feel, the wood to kind of go with Colorado, and they looked really good with the plaid in the inside of the album as well. The back side, this was a piece of paper that was already printed, had faux stitching, faux ornaments. All I did was stamp "Remember This" and then did my handwriting journal there. Here, these are flip flaps. I used washi tape to hold things in place, and you'll see that I did some stitching. So if the washi ever loses its stick, the stitching will hold it in place. And then my journaling is on the inside of the flaps, with each flap having a circle and a heart to kind of have that ability to pull it and take a look at the journaling behind. This was the year that we bought a house, and so the first story is November, closing on the house. It was COVID. We sat in our vehicle while they stood outside with masks, and so one whole big paragraph, and then going and celebrating afterwards. Here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different stories, and so the hearts for each story. Friends getting married, getting a PlayStation, Pikes Peak, and then unfortunately losing our beloved Aunt Holly. The story below, 2 stories here: packing up the apartment and getting ready to move into the house, and then getting possession of the house. We had closed on it, however, we didn't get possession because the family that was in it was moving to Virginia. They're in the Air Force, so we let them stay in the house a little bit longer until the Air Force moving crew could move them. And so here we are, in the house, moving some things in November before our official moving day. And so we're into December, again, using that silver thread. Here's a die cut. I specifically took this photo in the morning because it was the last day that we lived in our apartment, our full day. And so, unfortunately, I had a cold and I was so sick. But, it is what it is. Life goes on. And so I loved that. I cut the circle out of a card, and the circles matched the card over here. And so I wanted to keep that color scheme kind of going. So, our last meals, our last fire, our last day in the apartment. So kind of chronicling that list. Second moving day, it would have also been my mom's birthday. She loved the Grinch, so the Grinch always comes into my album on the 2nd. A little bit of stitching here, things that we did, my movers. I always ask if I can take a photo because some people are creeped out by it. Usually I explain, I'm a scrapbooker, and then they're fine with it. But I wanted to document that because those boys worked hard that day. The third person that was supposed to help them was sick and didn't show, and couldn't come, and they worked hard, and we gave them a really big tip. They were super happy, so very happy with that moving company. And then we got pizza, so I moved things around to make sure that I left a spot for some kind of embellishment there. And stamp moving forward. Here, Ellie's Studio, who I absolutely adore, had this card with a quote from Betty the Elf. I had a random sticker that had elf on it. And so I had to go with the red and green scheme here. And then I printed him out, fussy cut him, and put him on the tag for day 3. And then the back of the tag is day 4. We went up to IKEA to get some stuff for the house. Day 5, packages and cards that we sent with our new address, which was really exciting. But also this was our Christmas card for the year. Used dies from Tim Holtz. And then I added in the green circle and the 5 to go for day 5. Us and our COVID mask that I made with some Star Wars fabric. And then my journaling is here. So this is kind of fun. I always then have a copy of the card, but it also doubles as an embellishment slash a spot for journaling. So that's always a fun piece. 6 and 7, Tom working on the house, putting up lights, being Tim Taylor from Home Improvement with his Binford leaf blower there, which made me absolutely laugh. And, just the home ownership joy, making the card a little bit sparkly. And then the next day, then taking a photo of the lights outside and having the twinkle there that we do every year and we really, really enjoy. So big photos are really nice for kind of showcasing something that's really special and big. Big on that side, got to be big on this side. So this is the team. I was promoted to team lead in 2020, and so took a screenshot of our morning meeting, put the date there. So here I had numbers, and this year I was kind of moving around and doing different numbers at different sizes and styles and colors. I don't usually do that, but I was playing with that this year. So wrote out the date. Here's the card that I made the team, and I sent them this card and sent them a gift card for Christmas, which I document on the back side. A little envelope here. I glued the flap inside so it's easy to see and pull this out. Talks about the team, who's on the team, and what I got them for, the gift cards. So kind of hidden journaling, but also talking about, sending them and having the cards say special delivery is fun. Ellie's Studio does a great job of creating those. The 9th, we said goodbye to our apartment, so taking different pictures there, making a card into something kind of Christmassy, using some stamps and some tags. Real life ephemera here. This was when In-N-Out first came to Colorado. Tom grew up in California, so this was a very exciting day. And then, being a little bit cheeky, so beautiful sight, we're happy tonight. Beautiful sight, the animal style fries. We're happy tonight with the burgers. In-N-Out makes good burgers. So I asked for a clean bag because I didn't want one with grease on it. And what I did is I glued these flaps so that I could still open it, and it was still in here. The bottom is closed. I could put something in here, and I think that was my original intention. I didn't, so I could close this up, but it's kind of a nice little tie in with this, and then replicating, in some of my stuff, fussy cutting things out so that I'm replicating things over here with the same colors and images. December is sometimes just about the everyday story. So here I am putting together an IKEA bookcase and filling it. Fun. These are old page protectors they used to include in the albums. I don't use them very often. You'll see them in December Daily, but other than that, I really tend not to use them, and I should because they're kind of fun. Because you can put a strip of paper that maybe you wouldn't use elsewhere to kind of match. So this was the first snowfall for the year. These albums also include these little pockets, which is kind of fun. Usually now I use them for holding Christmas cards, but in this case, I didn't like the image on the front, so I put a picture of a taco bar that we did that day, and I put these tags in that are kind of hidden journaling, but also not, right? So this day was hard. So replicating the greens and the reds here, talking about how I was trying to put some IKEA furniture that we brought with us together, and I had lost the plates to hold the hinges and also the handles. And I'm very type A, and losing those infuriated me. I don't know where they were. I don't know what happened to them. I was very upset. I wanted to get my living room done. I wanted to have things ready for Christmas. So had, a tough day, but Tom comes home and, you know, balances me, and he's like, oh, we'll figure it out. We can get different handles. And I know this, but you know how you sometimes spiral. So watching Christmas movies really helped that day until he got home. And so I made a list of all the Christmas movies that I was watching that season. I handle this in different ways, but in this case, it was the Christmas movies that really kind of helped that day, and then him helping as well. So put the little tags on there. On the back of this pocket, I always put a big photo. So here I am. We're work from home. Set up my timer. Took a big picture. You know, my office and my scrapbook room became the same room because we have continued to work at home, and it wouldn't have if we had gone to the office fully, but we're hybrid. So most of my time is at home. So that was my room at the time, and it's kind of fun to look at it now because it was pretty basic and naked. However, we had just moved in. Using one of the vintage Santas, I add some stickles, giving a break between two big photos to kind of stop and let your eye rest, and also the fact that it's a divider here for your brain. The 15th, realizing, you know, this saying, I think this was from Allie Edwards. She had said it in one of her videos. Christmas should be about more sparkle and less stress. And so use stickers to put it on there. These stickers are notorious for not sticking, so I also sewed those on. We had gone and found a beautiful tree at Target, and it was in the Black Friday deals. We bought the tree and the lights. We put those up, and that was our tree for the year. No ornaments, no garland, nothing. More sparkle, less stress. We had just moved in, gave myself some grace. Don't worry about it. Move on. 16th is our anniversary, so it's always anniversary photos. We had gone and gotten new phones that day, so there's, you know, pictures of us going for dinner. You know, the COVID steakhouse. Aunt Linda had sent us this beautiful card. You know, he's the milk to my cookie, and I liked the foil, so what I did is I cut it on the spine and then glued the inside to the front cover so it's one flap as opposed to a card that opens. Real life ephemera, really fun. It was cute, and I wanted to keep it. 17th was a rough day. People were burning out. Everyone was tired. People are sick. Gray cards. I had a little poop emoji. Acrylic, added it in there. You know, that's life. And so adding those stories, you know, you don't have to, but I like to. You know, and not every year has a tough story. Not every year has a tough day in December. So it is what it is. On the 18th, though, happy. I'm in my little Buc-ee's mask here. I look like a little beaver. Happy day. Because we had gone to IKEA and they had the hinge plates that I needed. And they were like, oh no, well, you obviously bought it from us. And so they gave them to me for free. So it cost me nothing. They were super gracious, super nice, totally made my day. So I was a happy little beaver that day. Great customer service. Very, very joyful and triumphant. 19th. Now, sometimes there's days where you don't have a lot to say. An around here page is always fun to do, or a currently page of what you're currently doing, currently watching, currently reading. Here, you know, took some photos of, you know, Tom setting up the TV, and I put some decorations and, you know, soaking in the tub, setting up my glass case. We put a Mickey and Minnie in the tree as our decorations for the year. Those are the new handles. After having, you know, my fit and being all upset about losing the handles, I got new handles and I absolutely love them. We got some Grinch stuff and added it to the front yard. I love circles, and putting circles in the album is a lot of fun. This one is really fun, and I think I want to do this again. So the 20th here is our, you know, we've got TV, we've got the stand, we've got a few ornaments up. And so just watched TV and did some stuff in the house and relaxed. That's the 20th. Now, if you flip it, we have the opening of 2 circles. This is the 21st. This is my wrapping paper for the year. I always document my wrapping paper, and so this is what I did. I actually had cut the 2 circles in cardstock, And then I adhered on strips of wrapping paper that I was using, making sure that the images showed. So, you know, I wanted my droids and I wanted this star to hold my number. And then I trimmed around the circle and then stitched the zigzag silver thread. Okay. Then I used that and adhered it to my photo and the cardstock on the back side. Okay. I put the tabs so it's easy to flip and so you can see that it's not just one big circle and you don't miss out on that day because it has a separate tab. So that was a fun way of doing my wrapping paper. No peeking and presents. There's no other journaling there. Self-explanatory. Here is a picture of the tree lit in the early morning. And I still do this actually. I will wake up early and I will go and sit with the tree and just have a moment to myself. And like, we don't have kids. We didn't have pets at the time. It was just myself and Tom, but it was a really tiring season. We had just moved and there was a lot going on at work, and just having that quiet before I went to my office and started working was just really special. And so I try and do that every year. Just take a moment and just be and enjoy. The 23rd, this would have been my grandmother's birthday. If you've watched the other videos, I've talked about that before. Here I put a picture of her. She was a very incredible lady, had a huge influence on me. I used this big piece of paper that was in the collection. I put the number, I added some stickles so that the wreath was zhuzhed up a bit, and then this foam word and the washi, and this is actually hidden journaling. So there's a circle hole punch there, and then I put a piece of paper at the top. So I used a quote, and then I did my journaling on just a sheet of paper here. And you can see that the circle is only on the one side, so that you can see that there is journaling in there. It doesn't need to be, you know, in your face. And actually when it's closed there, the paper and the thing shows, but it's a variance, and so you can see that. So sometimes hidden journaling is kind of nice. I liked the aesthetic of the barn. You know, she lived on a farm in Canada, and so I wanted to kind of keep that and tie that together. On the back there, it's the night before Christmas, and so a lot of times I have Santa images. I love Santa. I got these little ornaments. I thought they were so cute, so I wanted a big photo of those, you know, with the Canadian flag and the US flag, because in 2020 I got my citizenship. So this was the Christmas following that, and I got these ornaments. Those were my ornaments for the year because they had the flags, you know, 2 Santas, 2 citizenships. That's me. I have dual. Here, this is a tag, printed tag. I just put it in there because it worked with the Santas. This is my stamp Santa. I just wanted something on the back. I found my little golden book the night before Christmas. This is the book I had as a child, as a baby. You know, it was given to me when it was my first Christmas, and so I've had it every single year. Every single year, I pull it out and read it. And that's what the story is. And then if you open up the front, there is my mom's lovely handwriting and the year that I got that. So very special, something I always look at. I guess I was 1.5 because 1980, I was born in 79. This was a cut file. I was going to put it on a page. Didn't happen, but I'm like, oh, it fits. And it's cute because there's no place like home for the holidays, and we were in our new home. Did nothing to it. Could have done it in a different color of paper. The white worked. I just left it. And then cookies for Santa. So got this, or was given this really funny little thing there. And so had the plate for cookies for Santa. Talked about the night before Christmas. This is just a card. It was one of the cutouts from a page. And then we always go and look at lights on Christmas Eve. So this was our favorite house of the year. It was so full of different images, and it was a lot of fun. And then this was our house, how it ended up. And so I took a picture of that to put there as well. The 25th, odds and ends, little bits and bobs. The mug I was drinking out of that morning, I had made this. This was a cut file, and put the vellum there in between home, and then used some more of the die cuts for the mountain range there, because our new home is Colorado. Used my Martha Stewart punch and did some punches there. Just thought it was fun. Tried a few, mixed media techniques. This was, I think, the first time I played around with mixed media. You can see that it is really mixed media. Like, wow, Tanya went out overboard there. But kind of play around with some different stuff. Tags. So this was, my dad had opened up his package and sent some pictures of the dog. The tags here, these are our Christmas gift tags, and I just put photos on the back of, Aunt Linda had sent us a beautiful watercolor of the house, and, gifts that friends had sent, or my team had given me, our realtor. So just little tags with little pictures, little goodies, that get tucked into the pocket here. Nothing fancy, but kind of a fun way of doing that. A little more interactive, sort of hidden as well. And you can see them on the back. Something I had sent to a friend, and she had messaged about it, so that was kind of fun. And then, opening our stockings, opening our gifts, things under the tree. You'll notice if you watch any of the other videos, I always do pictures of the gifts under the tree. Looking a lot smaller. We had moved. We didn't have a whole bunch of family to buy for. Gift cards are easier when you're at a far away distance. And so these were just our gifts. And so, a new tradition of just us being together. I love doing lists. So another list of, 1, 2, 3 things that we did. Charcuterie has become a staple in our holiday traditions. 27th, I had gotten this bin and was working on December Daily. I usually chronicle that because that's something that is kind of special, and that is something that I do every year and I really enjoy. So that was my setup for my December Daily stuff that year, that I was working on. And then here's a project Tom was working on. Now, again, was that particular day? I don't know. But that's the story I decided to tell on the 27th. So that photo could have been from the 10th. It could have been from the 20th. It could have been the 27th. The 28th, I know, was him painting. So used black and white because he was changing the white wall into black. And he's wearing black and white pants there. And then, I was laughing and singing that song from the Rolling Stones. You see a white door and you want to paint it black. So he sees a white wall and he wants to paint it black. I did that with Photoshop on there. And then here I had a 4x6 photo. I didn't want to do a 4x6 page because I wasn't sure what I was going to do in the second spot. So I just took a piece of paper and made it big enough to hold the holes. And then here, it's the squirrels. And so in case you didn't see them, I put a big arrow. There's the squirrel. And our squirrels are crazy active and we feed them and we love them. And then on the back side, I had crazy tooth pain and I got in and I need a root canal. So, good with the bad, right? And so, the teal up there ends up being the teal here. And then this was fun. This was something that I had never done before. What this year is teaching me. And so this was the 31st. We weren't doing anything really special, but this was when I started to do an overview of the year. And what did the year teach me? And I actually put that in my year album every year of these are the things I learned that year. And so, I typed this up and printed it on this page. Printed on a piece of paper first to see how it fit, adjust the alignment, then stuck the printed pattern paper on it, ran it through the printer again. So this was the 31st, and then I sliced my page protector so that I could put in this little booklet, okay? And so I put a few little things on here, saying goodbye, saying hello. So there's the squirrels at the door, peeking in at me, wondering where the peanuts were. And what did I do in the morning? What did I do in the afternoon? And then there's nothing like staying home for real comfort. I believe that's a Jane Austen quote, but I look upstairs looking down. Tom was in the kitchen, and so had that picture. And then less, moving into the next year, I want less of this and more of that. And so made this little book to slip in there, and then the little charms kind of hang on the outside. End of the year. Usually, I end the year on the left-hand side. This year I didn't, because I wanted to do this journaling piece. And then here we are into January. So this is 2021. Spent the day at home. Here was the salad I made, and I worked on Lego. Just had a day to myself, which was really nice. Tom was working. So I put together all my Lego that have been sitting for ages and ages and ages. The Trevi Fountain was so much fun. Had a fantastic day. So kind of nice just to add in the photos. The bus was fun. Buckingham Palace. So good. Love Lego. This was a tag that I had kept from a few years ago. So this was January 2nd. Skyping in with friends. Doesn't have to be complicated. Food photos, I like taking them on kind of an angle to give a bit more dimension. This was a card that was not Christmas related, but used it here. Another insert that came with the album, and it had everything printed, but just put the word on top of that, and then stuck a card to the back. Again, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So talked about the different shows that I was watching, or we were watching together. So again, page, I stitched it, added these stars in, and then had added in the flare. Wanted to use the flare up, found that this was the best way to do it. Again, big page. I had smaller photos, right? So used a sticker strip to kind of do a more traditional page, but this was the squirrel. The squirrels realized that I was the one who was giving them the peanuts, and so they would shimmy up the tree and stare at me in my office until I got creeped out, and then I'd be like, "Oh, you're there, you need nuts." And so we took down the bird feeder because we realized that it was very difficult to fill, but I would go out and throw nuts to them. And then here's Christmas Eve. Used a meme. No photos. We're just keeping it light. It was just the two of us. Quiet Christmas. And then the 7th, again, did the pierogies and everything. And then added a meme. I love adding memes. They're kind of fun and something different. Again, nothing else after that. Finished with Christmas. Finished with some of the plaid and stuff that I started the album with, which was kind of a nice tie-in to pull it all together. Used a lot of the papers from this collection. Very beautiful collections. I really love simple stories. So that was my album for that year.